Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Hope we're all enjoying our Monday. Looking forward to a good week ahead and enjoyed the weekend that's just been. We'll talk a little bit about the weekend's fixtures, how that sort of looks at the league standings from there, how we go forward from there, and a little bit of an update on star player and contract situations. So quite a bit to get into, so I'm just going to jump straight in talking about obviously the Forest game. So if you've been living under the rock over the weekend, Spurs won 3-1. Fraser Forster will save a penalty, so make of that what you will. Now, first and foremost, I thought for the most part we played very, very well. I think there was things in the game that we definitely could improve on, but I think overall, looking at how we've been the last couple of weeks, that was a good performance. Yes, Forest maybe aren't of the best qualities, no offence to Forest fans or anything like that, but maybe they're not right up there as presently stated. They were on a bit of a trajectory of being towards the sort of mid-table of the league. They've obviously got some very decent players in actually now. Obviously, I know they signed 450 million players, but they'd actually sign some decent players as well. Keylor Navas being one, Felipe at centre half, Renan Lodi at left back, Morgan Gibbs-White. The list goes on. What I sort of took away from that game was certain players definitely try a lot more in terms of expansive football when we're playing against the worst teams. No offence again on the worst teams front. But against the top six, they're very cautious. Don't want to do anything that might give the ball away, get the fans rolled up and all that jazz. So, you're seeing Oliver Skipp play 40-yard passes where against, I think AC Milan or City, I think all of his passes in total travelled about 40 yards. You're seeing Højbjerg try and play through balls, trying to link up the play on the edge of the box a bit more than he would against a top six team. And it definitely shows, I think there's a lack of confidence against those top six teams, if I'm honest. Because why on earth would you change the way you play against maybe a smaller, lesser known team than you would play in maybe a big cup game, AC Milan, for example, or against some of those big teams? I think it is something that to be worth noting on that front. I thought, there was a lot less rash decisions being made. I'm looking at you, obviously, Christian Romero. I thought Fraser Forster had another solid game. I think this idea, Spurs fans want to get rid of Fraser Forster as a number two. I just don't get it. I think it's living within the moment, and he's not a sexy name. Because he's not a sexy name, we don't want him, right? Fraser Forster has made countless great saves. The goals that we've conceded, you can't sit there and say, he's been at fault for so many of those. He hasn't. I mean, he saved a penalty, which is his fourth penalty save in 8, which is outrageous. He actually has been quite a solid signing. I think let's be fair here. Yes, he might not play out the back like an Edison or a Neuer, fine. But imposing from corners, made that really good save from obviously that corner from Aurier's header. Saved the penalty as well. Actually made some good saves against Forest. So fair play to Fraser Forster. I thought gave a good account of himself. I thought Pedro Porro looked really, really good with the ball. I think we've noticed that in the first few games he's played for us, that when he does get on the ball, he looks forward or he cuts inside and gets forward. It's not, I'm going to pass that ball back to Romero, which is what we've seen for the last sort of 18 months, that the right back's always been way too cautious and not thinking about getting the ball to, Kulusevski or now Richarlison. He's always, let me just go back to Romero because that means I keep the ball. And that means if we lose the ball, I'm not at fault for it. And I hate that mentality. Romero was good. I thought, very good on the ball. Wasn't making any stupid decisions, which is quite nice. I thought Dyer didn't really give the best account of himself. Dyer's a weird one. Obviously, he's a good leader in the dressing room. He's English, which helps. But actually, I thought last season he was a lot better than he has been this season, in my opinion. That plays a massive part into Spurs conceding quite a few goals this year. Longley I thought was good with the ball. I think it's one thing you can be honest with Clement Longley. Gets the ball and gets out of his feet and gets it moving forward. You very rarely see him pass it backwards if he has to, I definitely think that's probably the Barcelona treatment that's been given and instilled in him as well. I want to speak about the left wing back position in its own entirety in a second. The two midfielders, again, like I said, passing the ball forwards for once, looking up and actually trying some things, which is quite nice. A little bit too cautious for me over the past few weeks. So, yes, you played well, but I want to now see this in the next couple of games, that you're actually trying to be more expansive. I'm not saying you have to dribble past 8 players. I'm just saying pass the ball forward and pass it with some intent. Haven't seen it enough, if I'm honest. People are raving about Skipp and Højbjerg from last game. It is Forest at home. You should dominate the midfield. You should be playing forward. You should be trying things. So it's one game. I want to see it now for the next few games coming up and linking those games together. The front three, really interesting. You know, obviously Son scored, so always nice that he scored, and he scored from a starting position, which feels mad to say after last year being the top goal scorer in the Premier League. Obviously joint, I know, of Mo Salah before anyone cries, but actually scoring from starting position, which is so nice to see. Really well taken finish, you know, absolutely dummies the defender, puts it across goal, keeper has no chance. Obviously, Kane getting two, one of them being a penalty, but in actual fact, that header was beautiful from a Pedro Porro cross, which is always good to see. And Richarlison was an absolute live wire. There was a lot of Spurs fans gave him player of the match. I think you probably would say it's Kane, if I'm honest, but a lot of people gave him player of the match just for the intensity, you know, the directness of his running, you know, trying some things. And I don't think Spurs fans are hating the idea that, look, you could give the ball away. You know, you're giving the ball away up their end of the pitch, so it's not like we're going to get in trouble from you giving the ball away, but you're trying something. Instead of being cautious, instead of being boring, you're trying something. Yeah, sometimes the cross might be overhit from time to time. I think the one thing you can say about Kulusevski is Kulusevski, he just hasn't been very good for a little while, you know. He's had his moments here and there, but would you really sit there and say, if you looked at a span of 6 games, he's actually been anything of real quality? He hasn't, in my opinion. Maybe this idea that, actually, Richarlison's coming, he's taking my spot. I need to get back at it. That's a beautiful thing. And that's what Spurs fans have always wanted, is that depth of quality to say, hey, if you're not playing well, we'll get you out of the team. Let's get him in the team, you know? I think we're all sort of still wanting to see a little bit more of Danjuma, but it's nice to see that Richarlison, you know, getting into the team. And I think that's the first time we've seen those front three actually play well. Obviously, I know he had a goal disallowed, Richarlison. For me, it's bogus, to say the least, but regardless, he still played very well. Moving on. Now, I want to speak about left wing back position before speaking about how that looks in the table, and then obviously about the contract situation. The left wing back position, I thought about it over the weekend before making this video, and I realised at the start of the season when we were playing very, very well, the left wing back position was such a productive position for us. You know, Perisic was getting assist after assist after assist, and I had him in my fantasy football team. He was absolutely belting it for me. You know, Sessegnon was getting on the score sheet quite nicely as well, which is always good. But really, probably the last, I think even just before the World Cup, we haven't seen much out of that position. I know Sess is injured now, and Davies has actually been playing a lot more left wing back. But we're just not getting a lot from that position. And it is clear to see, I think, as we started to lose our form a bit, that position really left its form on the pitch and not really picked up from before the World Cup. And we've noticed it, you know, Perisic isn't beating players as much. And obviously Davies, I know, is hit and miss with his deliveries. See AC Milan first game when he took about 4 crosses and I don't think one of them even went near the 6-yard box. So it's something that we definitely have missed. Obviously, I know Destiny is coming in the summer, which might change that. But just thinking about right now, it's a position that really has struggled. And I think, you know, Perisic and Son, I don't think they've linked up all that well, in my opinion. I think going forward, it'd be interesting to see if that position does pick up alongside Son's form maybe picking up. I don't know. I think Cesc plays better with Son. It's interesting that. I think Destiny plays better with Son because Destiny is a out-and-out left winger. I don't know. But it is an interesting thing to think how that production has fallen off quite a bit and our form and, you know, actually, and Perisic being included in this, our danger from set pieces has fallen off. Yeah, we score here and there, but do you remember we went through about 10 games where we scored about 8 goals from set pieces? That's fallen off. I mean, we're top goal scorers in the league from set pieces for a reason. We were very good, but that has fallen off a little bit. Going forward, league standing wise. So obviously I wanted to wait a little bit till after I saw the United fixture, the Newcastle fixture and things like that. So to give you an idea, we are 2 points behind United and they do have a game in hand. And we're 4 points clear of Newcastle, we're in 5th, and they've got 2 games in hand. So, yes, in theory, we could go 5 points behind and then 2 points behind Newcastle. I know we're 6 points clear of Liverpool, and they've got a game in hand. But this weekend was such a vital win with Liverpool losing at Bournemouth and United dropping points at home to Southampton. I know Newcastle won, but just speaking of those two alone, them dropping points was massive for us. I think it really benefits us to kind of get into a position where, especially on the Newcastle front, well, we've got the points. They have to win their games to get ahead of us again. So we've got points there. Going forward, I know we've got some decent fixtures coming up where we could be looking at taking 3 points from each one of them coming up. But in just speaking about it now, it's kind of mad to think that we're 2 points behind United. Let's call it even 5 if you want to give them that win. I don't know who the game's against, if I'm honest. I don't really stare at United's fixtures all that often. But let's say we were 5 points behind United. Ten Hag has been touted as this absolute genius, right? And Spurs and Conte have been, touted as failures. Yeah, I know they've won the cup competition, but let's just speak about the Prem. He's a genius, Conte's a failure. Well, we're 5 points behind. They spent a lot of money in the summer, just like I say we did. We spent some good money in the summer. They spent some good money this summer. You think of Casemiro's 60 million. You think Anthony was 85, 95 even. So if let's call it 85, it's 145 million. Malacia was, I think, about 15 million. It's 160 million. They spent just as much as we have. But we're touted as failures, which I find very interesting. We're the third top goal scorer in the Premier League, which is also quite interesting. For a team that's negative and doesn't play good football, actually, we score quite a few goals. I do think this season still has a lot to play for. We're still in the race for third, which I think is nice to think about. If we get third, you sit there and go, actually, we progressed from last season from fourth to third. Yeah, I don't think it's been an out-and-out success. I think, and I actually saw a really interesting comment, and it was by a West Ham fan who, I can't remember what it was about, but, I think it might have been Tony Cascarino was talking about how, Spurs are a big club, look at the stadium, blah, 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 blah. And the West Ham fan made more sense than I think 99% of Spurs fans have made sense in the last 2 weeks. They have got a fantastic stadium. They've got some fantastic players. They've got fantastic training grounds. The fans want, success, and they have ambition. The manager has, ambition. The players have ambition. There's a group of people that don't really have enough ambition unless it's about getting top 4 football, which is obviously about money. It's about sponsorships. It's about revenue, which is obviously ENIC and the board. Everyone else has this real ambition to be a top world-class team in with world-class teams like your Man Cities, your Madrids, those sort of guys. We want to be in that class, and we're not. If they're A+, we might be B+. We might be A- at a max, right? We want to be up there with them. Yes, we don't spend as much as them. I understand that. But there's also that lack of ambition, in my opinion, to get us into that position, So that was interesting. And fair play, that's a West Ham fan saying that, because a lot of Spurs fans are deluded beyond deluded half the time, I think, I'm not saying all of them are, please don't think that, but I'm saying a lot of them are. They're thinking we are Man City and we are Real Madrid when we're not. We're just physically not. We might have one player that's on their level, and Harry Kane, but we haven't really got anything else in terms of that type of quality. I think Romero could have that ability. I think Bentancur could potentially have that ability. I think Son last season had it, but obviously this season, I'm going off this season, doesn't have it. We really need to understand that we have a leadership in place that doesn't have that ambition, does not really see a cup win and a good challenge in the Premier League as a great success. What they see great success is fourth and above. Yeah, if we get higher than fourth, fantastic. But we only care about fourth because that's where money is for us. And that's the issue. It's not Conte. It's not been previous managers. It's not Paratici. It's not Greta Steinson. It's not physios. It's not any of these people. It's about the board. They have been a massive issue, and they still are the big issue. It's not the other people involved. So, speaking a little bit about star player and contract talks. So, this came out from Ornstein and other tier 1 sources. Harry Kane contract. Obviously, he's got a year left, which starts from this summer, right? So, obviously, normally you'd try and cash in if they're not going to sign a contract. So, 2 things. Spurs have 0 interest in selling him. And they've already started preliminary talks. Not massive talks, but they're talking. And I think Kane is probably going to be sitting there going, look, is Conte leaving? If Conte's leaving, I want a bit of a say in the new manager. Obviously want a big pay bump, which Levy's probably like, oh, please don't. Oh, can we actually get a pay decrease out of you? No, probably. But he also probably wants to see, hey, what are you spending this summer? What are we doing this summer if you're actually that interested in being a top team? I don't blame him for stalling on that, if in my opinion. I would say the new manager is going to be crucial if we're going to get a new manager. Mate, if Conte gets third and he wants to stay, is Levy really going to change that? I think Spurs fan probably coming around to Conte. I think you need to understand the situation and the year that he's been through. But if we were to finish third, I think you'd be struggling to find an idea to replace him unless he wants to go. Because at the end of the day, third is the best position we finished in for years. That's deemed as great success to the board. They want to keep him on because that's deemed as great success. So do I see Harry Kane staying? I don't see... Well, I mean, a lot of German reports think that Bayern Munich aren't going to go for him. ESPN said that United don't want to go for him because they have to deal with Levy. I know obviously they're linked to him and you know, United fans have been talking about how he's definitely coming and all that jazz. But in reality, he would want to stay. But he wants to see some ambition for once. There was a small glimmer of ambition last summer. They were like, hey, we're going to spend some money. Minus the fact that, you know, that was money basically that they put into the club, 150 million to buy more shares, ENIC being them people. But forget that we didn't spend money from the Premier League, Champions League qualification and sales. We just spent 150 million. So you see the issue there, right? I don't blame him for wanting to stall. Do I see him signing a contract? I actually do. And that's just me being hopeful. I think a lot of Spurs fans are very pessimistic, but you should hope that he's going to sign a new contract. He's a Spurs boy. He wants to win with us. He wants to become the top goal scorer in the Premier League of all time with us. You can see why, but he just wants some promises and ambition made to us. Will he get it? I don't know. But I'm interested to see what happens in that. But that we probably won't hear more about that towards the end of the season. So it's just that it came out today. I think it's probably been leaked by someone up top to say, hey, we're trying to get him. Because obviously what's happened with, you know, fan reaction over the last sort of few weeks, I want to sprinkle some good news in there. But we'll see about that. There you guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you're well. Obviously, drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Hit me with the comments what you think about the sort of the season, how it might go from here on, the game that's just been, and Kane's situation as well, and what you think if he's going to stay, sign a new contract, if he's going to go, where does he go? Obviously, if you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe, and obviously hit the bell notification because there'll be more videos to come. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video today. Hope we're obviously going to enjoy the rest of our Monday, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, lads.